Remember how the gladiators used to fight to the death for certain reasons? Well, guess what? This next story is similar, because OP's father wants her to fight her own sister, and the winner takes the inheritance. Yeah, you heard that right. Oh, and guess this. One of the sisters is sick, and I mean deeply sick. My father is like a snake, selfish and does not care for anyone. He's done a lot of things to me and Tara, but because he's our parent, we cannot help but forgive him for several things. One thing he likes to hold over us is our mother's death. And without fail, when he blames us for it, we get so guilty and we do what he says. Dad has never helped us financially, apparently wanting us to work hard so that we do not think money grows on trees. Even when we fell on hard times and borrowed money from him, he would treat it like a loan, charging interest. It was very difficult to grow up living with him. There was no affection, no love. We were raised by nannies, while he was always on business trips, and we were introduced to so many of his female friends, to whom he gave money to go shopping, while we had to beg for money to even go on school field trips. I could never figure out the reason why my dad hated us so much. But I feel as if it was just in his nature to only value people who had some advantage that he wanted, while he treated those with no use to him badly. He told us many things, some lies and some not, but one that stayed with us was that it was the death of our mother. According to him, both of us had contributed to her death. Everything was our fault or my mother's, but never his, because he thought he was the most perfect or important human being on this planet. A year after my mom gave birth to Tara, who was always a sickly child, she fell pregnant with me. Now, according to him, he was always the doting husband who made sure that her pregnancy went well. And well, she had a safe delivery, but according to other family members, namely my Aunt Holly, she said that he would cheat on my mom throughout her pregnancy, subject her to uncomfortable treatment, all while demanding that she should bear a male heir for him. Someone who was strong and not ailing like Tara. My sister was always in and out of the hospital, so to add to her pregnancy, she had to worry about a sick infant. My dad was busy working and cheating on my mother, who was dying of stress because of all that. She just needed to do alone. I believed Aunt Holly's versions of events and not the sob story he told the public, that he had been the most devout husband to his wife, who ended up dying during childbirth. My mom ended up dying. The main cause is the loss of blood and high blood pressure. When given the option to save me or my mother, my father chose to save me because he thought I was a boy. He was beyond enraged when he found out I was no boy. So my mom died for nothing, he says. Can you just imagine just how messed up it is to know that I was the only saved one because my father thought I was a boy? He was so certain, had convinced himself that I was indeed a boy. My aunt told me that my mother knew I was another girl, but hid it from him because she feared that he would make her abort. I feel bad that I was born sometimes. Because of me, my mother had to give her life. I had to have extensive therapy over the years to get rid of the belief that my mother was not alive because of me, and I deserved all the hate that my father put on me. It was just the same for Tara, who's gotten stronger with time but suffers from many allergies and anemia. I grew to resent Tara instead of loving her and supporting her. Even years later, though, we are civil with each other. There was some rivalry between us, though, which was how he managed to control us. We knew he was a toxic, bitter man, but we wanted his approval either way, or to be expected by our mother's death, as if he was the judge of our lives. At times, I had to stay home and take care of her, because my father could not be bothered, and he figured we were too old for babysitters. We would fight most of the time and blame each other for the way things were so bad, that the house was filled with so much pain and blame, such that we could not truly fix it. There was only one time when we could forget all the pain and resentment, and it was when we visit our grandmother, who lived on her farm far away. Grandma was a very humble and loving woman who encouraged us to love and support each other as sisters. When we were with her, we never had to ask for anything because she was always there before the words even left our lips. Though she was a very wealthy woman, she lived a very humble life, unlike my dad who only cared about money. When she talked about my father, she would get very sad, saying that if my mother was alive, he would not have been this bad. He would have been a better man. I could not imagine that man having a single bone of kindness in his body. He was cruel and thought that everyone was below him. When Tara finished high school, she wanted to go to college and came to him to ask for money. Do you know what he told her? He told her that he chose not to go to college, but he had somehow managed to be successful, and the course she was doing was useless. My sister wanted to work in the field of education, teaching at a school for disadvantaged youth. At the time, my relationship with her was much better than we were growing up. I really wanted her to achieve what she could. He gave her the money, but wanted half of her salary for the first year as payment. Imagine, a father making his own daughter pay him back for college. I had a problem with it. Even though she agreed, she was always the quieter one of the two of us. I did not think that it was going to be a good idea. I told her to apply for a student loan instead, but she said that I was jealous because he agreed. You see, even though he was toxic, we were still competing for his approval without even realizing it. So I talked to my father about it, asked if it was not his duty to take care of us, and how long he was going to punish us for things that we simply did not know. He told me, over the years he had fed and clothed us, but it appeared that we were very ungrateful to him, reminding him that he had spent a lot of money that he was not even sure we would be able to repay. He gave us a whole speech about how we were useless, and that the family name would die with us because we were just girls. I backed away from the situation, fearing that he would as easily withdraw his funds from Tara. When it was time for me to go to college, I did the same thing. I asked for the money, but instead of using it for college, I secretly started a business. This immediately made me a favorite of his. Even though I was in the same field as him, he offered me business advice. But as time went on, he appeared to be trying to steal clients from me or absorb my business into his. It was around that time when I was about to confront him that an interesting proposition landed in my lap. There's an annual celebration in our town, just a small festival at the end of the year, with games and challenges. Tara and I used to go there all the time. There was a little section for adults, where they could compete in archery, sumo wrestling, or even wipeout-style challenges. Either way, my father called Tara and I to his house. There, he told us that now that he was 65 years old, and he was growing old, he could not manage the company on his own. Seeing how my grandmother, 89 years old, was struggling with health problems and would probably kick the bucket any day now, he started to see just how important it was that he name an heir. Now, since he did not have a son, it was between the two of us. My sister might have been the oldest, but I was the one who has the more business savvy. He told us that he was having a hard time deciding which of one of us would be the one to inherit everything, and he had to lead the company. But he said he had a plan. A duel of sorts between Tara and me. He said that he wanted a friendly match between us where the winner would get the entire inheritance and choose whether to split it or not. Honestly, I do not know how to feel about this. He has to be joking. He honestly cannot be serious about making us fight for our inheritance like we're some sort of gladiator pet. So now I'm wondering whether to do it or not. I've not spoken to Tara yet. My sister and I discussed it when he was gone, and we both thought the idea was very stupid and outdated. We knew he just wanted some sort of entertainment and was using the festival as a way to make us fight, now that we were in a good place. But my head was starting to spin. Maybe this would be my chance to finally get him out of the business. Then Tara and I could run the company side by side. It would be nothing but a playful challenge, of course. On the other hand, she thought it was just a joke and he would not really give one of us the inheritance. It was not uncommon for him to go back on his word after all. Maybe he was just going to give the winner a car or something. Either way, we decided to do it in the end. But maybe a draw so that he would have no choice but to give us both whatever prize it was. I certainly did not want to hurt Tara. What's up, guys? Mr. Reddito here. I just need to let you know this story is about to get insane. There's multiple updates. I covered every single post and compiled update after update after update. So, without further ado, here is update number 1. So, here's your update. The very next day, we went to the festival with our dad. It was actually one of the only times we went out as a family, and I enjoyed it. My father's backhanded comments did not even matter much to me, since it's been a while since I attended the festival. My sister and I promised each other no hard feelings as we competed in some of the activities at the festival. The first one was archery, which I won. After that, I noticed Tara getting more competitive, which just spurred me on. As time passed and we competed in a challenge against challenge, my urge to beat her got worse. It did not help that my dad told us that he needed to test us in various fields. I was about tired and ready to throw in the towel when it was late evening. I was trailing by 2 points and extremely tired. This was when my dad told us that it was just one last challenge. A literal physical fight in a ring where the person with points could win. But the thing is that there's little to no rules. Plus, makeshift plastic weapons were added as well. Often, only the most savage people got involved in this, but now we're going to be involved. Needless to say, Tara and I got carried away, to the point where we were tearing each other's clothes. We were hungry, angry, and frustrated, which got worse as we started to insult each other and blame each other for being selfish. I did not know why. I was more irritable than all of the other challenges, especially after my father gave me a bottle of water. Either way, while we were fighting, we got out of the ring and there was no one to control us as we fell over the side onto the floor. The angle that we fell was so bad that I heard the crunch of a bone before I screamed like I was on fire. I could hear Tara screaming like she was being hurt as well. My vision got a bit blurry and I saw my father looking at us. I could have sworn he had a look of triumph on his face. Update number 2, 2 days later. Sorry for the delayed update. It's been 2 days since I left the hospital and several things happened. One of which is that my father refuses to take responsibility for his actions. Not only that, but he wants to go back on his word and not give the inheritance to either of us. See, I should have just listened to people when they told me just how selfish he was. Once again, he has made a fool of me and Tara, and we're also not on good terms after what happened with Dad. The family's pretty divided on the whole issue, but let me just explain what happened. My sister fell on my leg, and from the height and angle that I fell on, it cracked, and now I have to be in a plaster for a while before I can walk again. My father refused to visit either of us when we were in the hospital, saying that it was a private hospital. He would not have to worry too much about getting diseases while visiting us. He's the kind of person who would rather the doctor come to see him instead of being in a hospital with other people. That is one of the other things I hate about him. The fact that he feels everyone else is dirty and he's the only clean one. Do not even get me started on some of his controversial views. They make me ashamed of being his daughter. He claims to be smart, but he was so obnoxious that he did not think the fact that Tara's nose was broken was something to be worried about. On the other hand, Tara's mad at me because apparently it was my fault that we ended up getting out of the ring. She says I did not take the fact in that she's anemic, because, well, I was too rough on her. How can I have been too rough on her when she was the one wiping the floor with me? Oh, and my dad refuses to take responsibility for the whole thing and says that we're grown adults and we should have known better. He says that it was merely a suggestion from him and we took it too seriously. If we take everything into account, it is how he would start the whole thing and suggested the tiebreaker at the end of the day. My sister and I were engaged in a friendly competition, though deep down I was taking it serious. But either way, he started it to make things worse. I was just on the phone with him asking him why he's not come to see me since I got discharged. I also wanted to know what the outcome of the competition was. First of all, he ignored me when I asked him if he was coming to visit. I ended up swallowing my pride, messaging Tara to ask her if he's contacted her or come to see her. She told me that she's called him, and he was out of the country on a trip with a woman. She also said that he's left a message that said we were both weaklings to end up in the hospital. If we've been boys, a clear winner would have been obvious, and declared, because of that, he did not want to see us or give us the inheritance because we embarrassed him. Well, I hung up the phone while Tara was still talking, and to be honest, I can't stop crying. I hate that I keep expecting that man to change, but he just stabs us in the back and carries on. He's a liar who could not take responsibility for his life, and now Tara and I don't even want to talk. Another update 1 month later. Well, Tara and I have healed, and we're now running the company together. A lot of stuff has happened since then, and we're both so busy. My sister knows about the post and does not mind. It's actually these posts that helped to save the both of us after we've apparently been disowned by that man. I ended up calling Tara back and asking what our next course of action was, now that we knew he played us in the worst way possible. She was still in the hospital getting treated for other things besides her broken nose, but she still managed to simmer up. Up until then, the family did not know that we were in the hospital. We're not really that close with many of them, so we did not see or feel the need to tell them. I knew Aunt Holly would just scold us, and Grandma's 89. She would get all worried that we're not feeling well. Well, it appeared that Tara's boyfriend gossiped and told someone who told someone else, and it ended up reaching my aunt that we were in the hospital. My aunt is my mother's sister. My dad is an only child, just to clarify. Anyways, my aunt was very angry about the whole situation, but the person she was angriest with was my father. She apologized for being distant all those years. He had told her to stay away from us because she reminded us of our mother. This was just another one of his lies, just so we would not have any warmth or family members and would rely on him. Either way, she told us that it did not matter who pushed who. At the end of the day, we were both hurt. She said our mother would be very upset if she just saw how our father had turned us against each other. I mean, we had tried to get along with each other for years, but there was resentment that we needed to let go of this time. But firstly, she told us that we needed to tell Grandma about this, because as far as she knew, Grandpa had more power than Dad still. She was sure that my grandma has just been lied to over the years by her son, and she was too sick to try to find out the truth. So, after Tara's been discharged, we visited Grandma at her house for the first time in many years. She looked healthy and also very glad to see us, but worried. So, Tara and I told her how our father had manipulated us into fighting for the inheritance. Then, when we got hurt, he ran off to some holiday with some bimbo. She was very horrified by all this and started crying, which made me feel so sorry for telling her. She said that her son's always been slightly rotten, but he's gotten worse with age. She feared he would become so hateful, greedy, and selfish, but when she got too old to work, he was the only person she could give the inheritance to. It would have pained her to give the company to distant relatives, because that would leave myself and Tara hungry. But she would be proud of the woman we've become, and so disappointed in her son. Therefore, she wanted to give us everything. She wanted to give us everything. We were shocked at how, but she said that she had not fully handed over the company and assets to my dad. That would only happen when she passed away. This appeared to be something that's gone over our father's head. Just because he had the power of attorney and access to all the accounts, his will was not even valid. It would only be valid if Grandma passed away first, then everything went in his name. My sister and I were very shocked by the news, but happy that she was going to give everything to us. She ordered my father to return and then began the transfers. He tried to beg, threaten, and intimidate us, but we were here to protect Grandma. This was just the first step in us being able to mend our relationship that could not develop because of our father. Grandmother removed him as the head of the company and appointed us, as well as transferred all the money to us. He was only left with a house and a few cars that were in his name, nothing more. Our grandmother said that she also left him a small amount of money for when she passed away so that he could take care of himself since he was indeed getting old. It's been a month since we last saw our dad, who put up a huge fight when we showed up to take over the business, and swore that the two of us would not be able to gain success. Well, shame's on him, because even in our first 2 weeks after absorbing my company, we're doing great. My sister's very good with working with people while I handle the business side. Grandma checks up on us every now and then, and she's so proud of us. Alright guys, Mr. Edito here, so that's the gist of it. But there's one final update. It's a mini update, but let's check it out. So, even though all the drama llama is over, I just wanted to give a final update. I feel like I owe it to you since these posts have helped me heal my relationship with Tara. We had an honest talk about all the stuff that's happened over the years and how we feel about it. We also apologized to each other for hurting each other during that fight and not being able to see that our dad was playing us against each other like pawns. He recently tried to contact the two of us, bad-mouthing the other and trying to gain sympathy. As soon as we got to the office, we showed each other the text and nearly died laughing, lol, at how pathetic that man is. I do not even want to call him my dad. He's just a sperm donor. He will probably have to sell those cars to keep up with his lifestyle. The people he used to make fun of are now making fun of him. They're not scared of him now that he's nearly broke. It's opened an opportunity for so many people besides Tara and me to heal from all that man's put us through and focus on building a brighter future. I used to blame myself and Tara for our mother's death, but now I found peace with it and I plan to move on. What a deep and sick, twisted, demented little man. I cannot believe a father would do something like that, especially when the father knew he did not even have the assets yet. Grandma had all the power. If it was not for Grandma, this story would have took a whole different turn. Guys, I hate to say it, but I don't think it would have worked in the favor of Opie and the sister. Drop your thoughts about this story and let me get a comment down below for Grandma. Say go Grandma. And we're going to look at today's final story. Am I the a-hole for throwing my sister and her son out of my house? If you're not subscribed to the channel, just take a second and click that button. It helps me out so much and I deeply appreciate that. Here's the final story. I'm 35 male. I'm a single father of 3 boys. Their mother died last year due to ovarian cancer. It's been a rough year to say the least. My sister got divorced 6 months ago and temporarily moved in with me and the boys. She has a son, my nephew, who's 9, who stays with us most of the time. My nephew and my 10-year-old are not the best of friends, but so far they get along fine apart from some teasing from both sides. A few weeks ago, my 10-year-old started telling me that his cousin was bullying him and being mean to him. He called him names, pushed him around, took his video games, etc. I talked to my sister many times and told her to talk with her son. We talked to the boys together and things settled down. Yesterday was my 3-year-old's birthday, so my whole family was here and my late wife's family as well. It was extremely emotional to say the least for everyone because it was the first birthday since my wife's been gone. The boys, 10 years old and 9 years old, started fighting again, and I asked them both to please calm down and behave. My son started crying and told me his cousin teased him about not having a mom. I choked up and asked my nephew if that was true, and he said yes, but he's sorry. I figured I'd have a proper talk with him and my sister after the party, so I just told him that what he said was really awful, and he cannot say it ever again. I comforted my son and we went back to the party. Before we cut the cake, my sister came yelling at me saying I had no business disciplining her child. I told her to drop it, we'll talk later. Instead, she says, because he's right. The kid needs a mom. I had tears in my eyes by the time she just said, see, it's even turning you into a beep. My in-laws were crying, I was tearing up, and the kids were upset. It was just awful. I told her to stop it and just leave me and the kids and the family to cut the cake, and we'll talk in the evening. She said, listen, we both lost our spouses, but at least I'm still a normal person, and she stormed off. After the party, I told her she has 2 days to pack her crap and get out. She's begging me not to throw her out because she and her kids will be homeless. So, what I'm asking is, am I the a-hole for throwing her out? Update. My mom agreed to take my sister in temporarily, and my nephew's still going to his dad's, because now his dad is saying that there's no way he's letting my sister ruin their kid. I want to thank you all for your kind words and all the love and support. Also, to everyone who also shared about losing a loved one, I'm so sorry for your losses. My nephew is supposed to leave tomorrow morning. My mom's picking my sister up right now around that time, and my in-laws are bringing my boys back in the evening. We'll have a little post-birthday thing for my little one when they do come. Just me, the boys, and my in-laws. Just some ice cream. He said he prefers it over cake. And maybe a few cartoons. One day at a time. Let's read this comment. It got a lot of attention, so here it is. Not the a-hole. Your wife died. That's significantly different from being divorced. Good job protecting your children from her poisonous attitude. And crying due to grief is hardly being a beep. So good on you for showing your boys that. That's when OP replied to that comment saying, thank you, exactly. I won't teach them to keep all that bottled up. And they're all in various forms of therapy. Age appropriate, obviously, as am I. Well, that's good news to hear that about OP. I wish the best for OP. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said before, if you're not subscribed to the channel, just take a second and click that button, because sometimes updates come out for these stories and you might want to hear them. Have an amazing day, and remember, it's cool to be kind. Mr. Redito will catch you in the next one.